Today we're going to show you how to measure twisted wire brush. So when I say wire, I'm not referring to bristles, I'm talking about the body of the brush. Using this video. So the custom design form, which you'll find on our website, www.industrialbrushware.com.au. So first we'll start with this twisted wire part. So as you can see here, there's two central wires and they're basically twisted around each other, which you might see a better idea here. Two wires which are twisted together, filament put in between, and then that basically gives you this style of brush, twisted wire, hence the name. So with this brush we're going to start by measuring the holding wire. Let's measure this one. This one in diameter 5.17. So that indicates to me that the holding wire, the individual pieces of holding wire, are half that size. So they're 2.5mm holding wire, which you'll find that information on the form. But what we need to do, we need to clarify that wire, we need to clarify the length, so the length of the total brush, excluding this metal ferrule here, okay? We'll talk about that a bit later. So we've got your total length there being, what's that, 160. You've got your brush face. So your brush face is virtually the whole length, but take 5mm, so 155. That's your brush face. Your brush diameter, so your OD, measuring that this way. So your outside diameter, so there we've got 35mm. One other thing we probably should focus on while we're talking about the bristle itself is what type of bristle. I feel that this is, just with knowledge, is a Tynex abrasive nylon. They do come in a few different grits, sort of like sandpaper, but it could just as well be brass wire, as we see in this picture, or not that picture, that example, or even just a thicker polypropylene bristle. Putting that one aside for the moment, and also this one, we're going to measure the diameter of the bristle. So isolating one bristle alone, establishing whether it's straight or crimped. So crimped is a slight wave or a heavy wave, depending if it's a heavy or light crimp. We're going to measure the diameter in millimetre. So that measures 0.55 in diameter, but what I need to do, I need to turn it 90 degrees and take one other measurement, 0.58. So that indicates to me that the bristle is slightly oval in shape, so please be careful and measure both measurements. Usually the measurement sort of, if it's 0.5 and then the other measurement you take is 1.0, you sort of, the medium, so being 0.75, would be the size of your bristle. But please list both. So once we've confirmed the diameter of the bristle, we'll move on to the end of the tip of the brush. So there are a number of tips and styles available. This here is a blunt end, so I don't know if you can see the blunt nature of the wire actually being bent around. Here's probably a better idea, a better example, a more extreme example. So it's a blunt end. It's not sharp, it's dull, and it's actually the wire continuing back around. That blunt end can also create a loop. So there'd be a loop end for you to put a finger in, use it by hand, whatever it may be. There are other options, which would mean that the bristle is actually sort of sticks out at the end here, sticks out, and it's actually like in a fan. So it's just one row of bristle, as you'd see here, and that's referred to as a fan tip. You can also run this out a bit longer and just bend the whole thing around, which is known as a turn tuft. Or you can get a number of things like a cap, a steel vinyl cap, to put over the end of there for just a cut off twisted end. And then there's also a way, a brush that we'd refer to as a tied tuft, but it's basically a number of bristles that are forced to the end in the manufacturing process. Something's tied around them and it forces it to become like a tuft, sort of like your punch brushes, which protrudes from the end. Either one of those is achievable on all the machinery that we have here, but some more critical than others. So to support that, you can also provide photo documentation of the existing brush if there is. What I'm just going to do here, I'm just going to drag this thing back. Drag this sucker back. So now we've talked about the tip. So let's talk about the end, the business end. So here you see on both examples a threaded ferrule. So you're going to have to take note. Is this an M6? Is it an M5? What sort of thread is it? Is it BSW, UNC? What is it to go into? It's clearly got to go into a female part the same, but whichever way you gather the information on that tip, that's going to be vital. We do offer a standard range of tips, which you'll see in some literature on the website. However, identifying what is physically there at the time is going to be very important. So further to this, we've got the diameter, we've got all the brush component aspects. We confirmed the tip, we confirmed the driving end. The driving end also having an option of a plastic handle, so you can push and pull, or two loops as handles. So this could be used as a flue cleaning brush. You tie string to one end, string to the other end, and it could work as a push and pull system. The only other thing that we really want to know is the density of the brush, so the fill amount. So when we say the fill amount, we talk about this. I'll talk about this fill amount being fairly light. Sure, it's black bristles and a white background, and the gaps are really highlighted, but the density of bristle is on the lighter end. And for this application being used in a flute, you need the flexibility. You want the rigidity, but you need the flexibility. Something like this, which would be a boiler tube condenser brush, you probably want a nice, even, dense, medium to dense coverage of bristle. So that means you get in contact with all surfaces, all face surfaces of the tube or pipe or whatever it is that you may be cleaning. Same goes for this one. This one's probably referred to more as a heavy sort of fill. So while the turns, I don't know if they show up there, if they're prevalent, but the amount of bristle that's packed into it would be considered a heavy amount. To quote these up, quantity is very important. Not important to have a large quantity, but to provide the right pricing structure, quantity is certainly going to play a role. Of course, we'll help anyone out. We'll do 1 to 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, whatever it may be, but quantity is going to affect the price, and there's no doubt about it. Please refer to your design form and all the key points that I've touched on here. Please fill all those out, as well as truly identifying the thickness and the type of filament in the brush, because there's synthetics, there's wires, or synthetic carbides, there's synthetics, there's natural fibers, there's a whole heap of different things that all do different things, that have different properties and characteristics, which may be very vital in your application.